Grandpa told me to find true love, someone who didn't care about money. So, I found a girl who wouldn't even splurge on a Starbucks latte. To keep it realistic, I moved us into a basement apartment, and we lived on instant ramen. On her birthday, I was just about to reveal my true identity when she pulled out a document first. I bought this stalled construction project for you. Happy birthday. I looked at the contract, staring at the familiar name of the conglomerate on the header, caught between laughter and tears. Honey, actually, this building already belongs to my family. Chase, you have to finish organizing these files tonight. The director wants to see them first thing in the morning. Put in some overtime. Bob Miller, the greasy project manager, patted Chase Sterling on the shoulder. His tone carried an unquestionable command. Without waiting for a reply, he grabbed his briefcase, humming a tune as he walked out the door, leaving Chase behind. The office emptied out one by one until soon. Only Chase was left, staring at the dense spreadsheets on his computer screen. He rubbed his sore eyes and glanced out the window at the dazzling city lights of New York. In the distance, the exterior of a skyscraper that pierced the clouds, shaped like a glittering diamond, was scrolling the words Sterling Global in bold, golden digital letters. That was his family's business, one of the iconic landmarks of Manhattan. And he, Chase Sterling, the sole heir to Sterling Global, was currently sitting on the 23rd floor of a nondescript office building, working as an intern for $3,000 a month, bitterly grinding through overtime. All of this stemmed from a phone call half a year ago from his grandfather, Silas Sterling. Chase, I'm giving you 1 year. You are forbidden from using any family resources. Go live the life of a commoner. Pay your own rent, find your own job, and experience the struggles of the real world. On the other end of the line, the old man's voice was full of vigor. Also, bring me back a granddaughter-in-law who doesn't want her money and truly cares about you. This is your ultimate test. If you fail, you can pack your bags and go mine diamonds in Africa. So, Chase transformed himself into a financial aid student at NYU and, a month later, successfully wooed the campus's recognized ice queen, Lily Vance. Lily was beautiful, but not in an aggressive way. She was like a mountain spring, clean, clear, with a hint of distant coolness. More importantly, she didn't care about money. When they went on dates, if they weren't eating at the school cafeteria, they were grabbing dollar slices or street tacos, never spending more than $20 between them. She never asked Chase to buy luxury goods and rarely even drank a $5 coffee, claiming it wasn't healthy. This made Chase extremely satisfied. He felt his 6 months of suffering hadn't been in vain. He was about to pass the test with flying colors. Buzz, buzz. The cracked iPhone 8 on the table vibrated, and the name My Lily flashed on the screen. The corners of Chase's mouth turned up involuntarily. He slid the screen to answer, his voice instantly softening. Hey, out of class. Yeah, just finished. Are you still working overtime? On the other end came Lily's voice, cool yet carrying a soft sweetness, like an iced soda in summer, instantly soothing the irritation of his work. Yeah, Miller dumped a last-minute task on me. I'll probably be late. Chase sighed, deliberately making his voice sound exhausted. Don't push yourself too hard. Your health is the most important thing. She paused, then spoke softly. I ordered you some delivery. Your favorite barbecue brisket bowl with double meat. Remember to eat it while it's hot. Okay. Chase felt a warmth in his chest, sensing all his fatigue swept away. After hanging up, he felt a renewed burst of energy. With such a gentle, considerate girlfriend who didn't care about vanity, this half-year of hardship was worth it. About half an hour later, the delivery arrived. Chase opened the container. The large chunks of brisket were tender and flavorful, the aroma filling the room. Just as he was about to dig in, his phone rang again. This time, it was his best friend, Mason. Chase, my man, where are you living it up? Mason's loud voice boomed through the speaker. Office, grinding overtime like a peasant. Chase shoveled a mouthful of rice, mumbling, Damn, you're really addicted to this roleplay? The majestic crown prince of the Sterling Group, working 9 to 5, living in a dump, wearing thrift store clothes, all for a girl? What are you after? I'm after a genuine heart. You wouldn't understand. Chase chewed on the brisket, a look of bliss on his face. All right, spill it. Don't interrupt my dinner. Serious business. Mason's tone turned serious. Your grandpa told me to ask you. There are 3 months left in the trial period. When are you bringing her home? The old man can't wait. Soon. Chase looked at the $15 brisket bowl in front of him, his eyes darkening slightly. But before I bring her home, I have to run one last test. The cruelest one. Another test? You've been testing her for 6 months. The girl eats scrap food with you. Isn't that genuine enough? Mason asked, confused. You never truly know a person until they break. Chase spoke slowly, his tone carrying a gravity that didn't match his age. I need her to know what true despair feels like. Only in despair can you see a person's true face. The next day, Chase appeared in front of Lily with massive dark circles under his eyes. He hadn't slept all night, not because of work, but because he was meticulously planning his ultimate test. To make it realistic, he had washed his face with freezing water and messed up his hair, his eyes filled with bloodshot exhaustion and manufactured despair. What's wrong? You look terrible. On the tree-lined path of the campus, Lily looked at him, her delicate brows knitting together, her clear eyes full of worry. Chase let out a bitter laugh, collapsing onto a nearby bench, burying his hands in his hair. Lily, something happened. His voice was hoarse and trembling. Lily sat down beside him, extending a cool, small hand to gently rest on the back of his. Don't panic. Tell me slowly. No matter what happens, I'm here. Her voice had a calming power. But right now, Chase had to shatter that peace with his own hands. He looked up, his eyes red as he stared at her, letting the emotions he had brewed for hours explode. My mom had a sudden heart attack last night. She's in hospital. The doctor said she needs bypass surgery, or she could die at any moment. How is she? Is it serious? Lily's face paled slightly. Very serious. Chase's acting was Oscar-worthy. He gripped Lily's hand, squeezing hard enough to hurt slightly. The doctor said the surgery plus post-op care requires a deposit of at least $50,000. $50,000, Lily murmured. For an ordinary family, this was undoubtedly an astronomical figure to come up with overnight. $50,000. Chase roared in pain, like a wounded beast. Where am I supposed to get that kind of money? My dad is just a factory worker, and our savings all went to my tuition. What am I going to do? As he spoke, he watched Lily's expression closely. He had predicted many possibilities. She might be scared off by the debt and slowly distance herself. She might hug him and cry, offering useless words of comfort. She might even break up with him on the spot to avoid the burden. Any of those were expected. That was the raw human nature he wanted to see. However, Lily's reaction completely defied his script. There was no panic on her face, no retreat, not even excessive sorrow. She just looked at him quietly, and within those clear eyes flashed a calm, strange light he couldn't decipher. Which hospital? What's the attending physician's name? She asked. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was incredibly steady. Chase froze, then instinctively rattled off the name of the hospital and doctor he had prepared. It was a famous private hospital in Manhattan, known for high costs, which fit the $50,000 narrative. Okay, I got it. Lily nodded. Then, under Chase's bewildered gaze, she stood up, took out her phone, and walked to the side. Where are you going? Chase panicked slightly. This wasn't how the scene was supposed to go. Lily glanced back at him. That look carried a reassuring power that made Chase's heart skip a beat. Don't panic. Her voice was soft, but incredibly firm. I'll handle it. I'll handle it. Those 3 words were like a pebble thrown into the dramatic lake Chase had carefully constructed, sending out ripples he couldn't predict. How could she handle it? Countless thoughts flashed through Chase's mind. Loan sharks? Or finding a rich man? The moment the latter thought occurred, his heart felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand, sour and painful. No, impossible. Lily wasn't that kind of person. He forced himself to calm down, continuing to play the role of the desperate, poor boy. He watched Lily walk to the shade of a tree, not far away, her back to him, raising her phone. Her figure was slender, her white dress swaying gently in the breeze. She looked like a lily flower that could barely withstand the wind. Yet this fragile girl had just said something as heavy as, I'll handle it. Chase's heart was a mix of complicated emotions. He quietly moved closer, trying to hear who she was calling. Lily's voice was very low. He could only catch intermittent phrases. Yes, it's me. Urgent matter. Need your help. Don't ask so many questions. Just do as I say. Her tone was completely different from what he usually heard. Gone was the cool softness. In its place was an unquestionable, commanding tone of someone in power. Chase's brows knit together tightly. Was this still the Lily Vance he knew? The call ended quickly. Lily turned around, saw him standing nearby, and paused slightly before reverting to her cool demeanor. She walked over, slipped the phone back into her pocket, and spoke softly to him. Okay, don't worry too much. The money issue will be solved very soon. Solved? How? Chase pressed, a hint of urgency and suspicion in his voice that even he didn't notice. A distant relative of mine agreed to lend it to us, Lily answered seamlessly. Give me your bank account number. He'll wire the money directly. Distant relative? Chase sneered internally. What kind of distant relative just casually hands over 50 grand? He increasingly felt that there was a secret hidden behind this. But he didn't ask further. He just gave a monosyllabic, "Oh," and texted her the account number of the debit card that held only his few $1,000s of living expenses. He wanted to see exactly what game she was playing. "Come on, let's go eat. You need your strength." Lily took his hand, acting as if nothing had happened, and led him toward the cafeteria. Her hand was still cool, but it made Chase feel inexplicably flustered. He felt that the play he had so carefully directed had slipped out of his control. He was no longer the director. He had become a passive audience member. And the lead actress, Lily, seemed to be shrouded in a thick fog he couldn't see through. They sat in the cafeteria, eating the cheapest combo meals. Lily seemed to have a great appetite, even asking for extra rice. But Chase felt like he was chewing wax, his mind completely absent from the food. He kept taking out his phone, refreshing his banking app balance. He felt Lily was likely lying to him, stalling for time. Maybe after this meal, she'd make an excuse to leave and then block him. However, just as his thoughts were running wild, a bank notification popped up on his screen. "Valued customer, a wire transfer of $50,000 has been credited to your checking account, ending in 8888 at 3:30 p.m. Current balance, $52,158. 50. Boom. Chase's brain felt like it had been struck by lightning, instantly going blank. $50,000. Not a penny less, exactly 50,000. It just arrived. It had been less than 30 minutes. He snapped his head up, staring in disbelief at the girl across from him who was methodically picking bones out of her fish. Who exactly was she? And who was this so-called distant relative? The shock of $50,000 hitting his account was far greater than Chase had imagined. He felt the worldview he had built over the last 6 months crumbling inch by inch. His proud ultimate test now looked like a massive joke. He thought he was the hunter in control, but unexpectedly, the prey hadn't taken the bait. Instead, she had casually tossed him a gold brick he couldn't comprehend. Did the money arrive? Lily looked up, seeing his ghost-struck expression. The corners of her mouth curved into a faint smile, a flash of cunning in her clear eyes. "Yeah, got it." Chase's throat was dry. "Lily, what is going on? That relative of yours." "I told you, it's a distant relative. He does big business," Lily said lightly. "He heard your mom was sick and lent the money without a second thought. Don't overthink it. Getting your mom treated is the most important thing." Her explanation was seamless, but Chase didn't believe a word of it. Big business? Big enough to mobilize $50,000 in cash in 30 minutes? That wasn't the level of an ordinary businessman. And from start to finish, she hadn't asked a single question about, "When will you pay this back?" This wasn't normal. For the first time, a strong suspicion and wariness toward Lily rose in Chase's heart. He even started to suspect if he was being kept by some sugar mama. The thought humiliated him. He, the heir to Sterling Global, relying on a woman to solve a $50,000 problem? If word got out, where would Chase Sterling hide his face? No, he had to get to the bottom of this. "I'm full. I need to use the restroom." Chase put down his chopsticks and found an excuse to stand up. He didn't go to the restroom. Instead, he ducked into a quiet corner outside the cafeteria, pulled out his phone, and dialed his best friend Mason. "Joe, Chase, what's up? How's the money gathering going? You need your bro to spot you a few grand." "Cut the crap." Chase lowered his voice, speaking urgently. "Immediately. Right now. Use the clearance I gave you and trace a transfer record for me. The recipient is my card. I want to know everything about the sender, just in case." Chase had given Mason a secret clearance code that could access part of the Sterling Group's intelligence resources. "Damn, that's serious? All right, hold on." The sound of rapid typing came from the other end. Mason might be a goofball, but his skills were top tier. Less than 5 minutes later, he came back on the line, but his tone had turned incredibly strange and heavy. "Chase, are you sure you want to hear this? Spit it out." The account that transferred the money to you. It's an offshore trust fund. The owner's information is under maximum level encryption. I can't crack it. Can't crack it. Chase's heart sank. Sterling's intelligence system couldn't crack an account owner's info. "Yeah, I tried to brute force it, and the counter-surveillance system immediately locked my IP and sent me a warning." Mason's voice held a trace of fear. The warning message was simple. Just one letter, Q. But Mason changed the subject. "While I didn't find the owner during the attempt, I saw the accounts. Available balance. How much?" Mason was silent for a full 3 seconds, then, in a dreamlike tone, whispered a number, 50 million. Chase felt like his hearing might be failing. "How much did you say?" $50 million. Mason's voice suddenly spiked, full of shock and disbelief. Chase, who exactly is your girlfriend? Does her family own a bank? A backup fund account used for transfers just has $50 million sitting in it. $50 million. $. Chase leaned against the wall, feeling the world spin. His mind was in chaos. The image of the white figure calmly making a phone call and the terrifying number $50 million kept weaving together. A massive mystery trapped him tight. Lily Vance, who exactly are you? Chase returned to his seat in a daze. The way he looked at Lily had completely changed. There was shock, suspicion, confusion, and a hint of fear that he hadn't even realized. He felt like a clown, living inside a carefully woven lie. What's wrong? You look even worse than before. Lily pulled out a tissue and carefully wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Her movements were as gentle as always. But to Chase, this gentleness now felt full of artifice and calculation. Lily. Chase took a deep breath, deciding to lay his cards on the table. He didn't want to be kept in the dark anymore. Can we tell the truth? Aren't we always telling the truth? Lily blinked her innocent, large eyes. The 50,000. Chase's voice lost some control. Tell me, where did that money actually come from? Don't give me that distant relative crap again. His outburst caused the few students in the cafeteria to look over in curiosity. Lily's expression shifted slightly. She put down her chopsticks, her clear eyes watching him quietly, saying nothing. Just as the atmosphere hit a stalemate, a jarring voice rang out arrogantly. Yo, isn't this the department's broke couple? What trouble in paradise? A young man wearing trendy streetwear with dyed blonde hair swaggered over, holding a tray. He was followed by two lackeys wearing sycophantic expressions. The arrival was the finance department's famous rich kid, Chad Kensington. His family owned a few decent-sized companies with assets in the millions, a ceiling-level existence in the eyes of ordinary students. Chad had always been interested in Lily, but she had ignored him, choosing the painfully average Chase instead. This made him hold a grudge, and he rarely missed a chance to mock Chase. Chad, none of your business. Chase was already irritable. Seeing him added fuel to the fire. Ow, is it none of my business? Chad deliberately slammed his tray onto their table. The high-end dishes inside formed a sharp contrast to the cheap combo meal in front of Chase. His gaze landed on the bank card Lily had handed Chase. Oh, is this? Asking for a breakup fee? Chad smirked sarcastically. Chase, you're pathetic. Dating a girl and spending her money? What, are you a freeloader? The two lackeys behind him burst into exaggerated laughter. Chad, didn't you know? That's all the boy toy. He eats soft rice for a living. Exactly. Goddess Lily, are you blind? How would you pick a guy like this? The surrounding whispers were like thorns pricking Chase's pride. He shook with rage, stood up abruptly, and grabbed Chad by the collar. Say that again. Under normal circumstances, Chase would have punched him already. But right now, he couldn't. His persona was a poor student. The consequences of fighting were severe. What? Want to hit me? Chad patted Chase's face fearlessly, his eyes full of contempt. Come on, hit me right here. Believe it or not, if you touch me once, I'll have you expelled from this school instantly. You. Chase's veins bulged, his fist clenched tight. He knew Chad was telling the truth. With his family's influence, getting a student with no background expelled was effortless. Just as he was caught between a rock and a hard place, a soft hand gently covered his clenched fist. It was Lily. She stood up, looking at Chad calmly, her eyes devoid of any ripple of emotion. Let him go, she said to Chase. Chase hesitated, but finally released his grip. Then, Lily did something that shocked everyone. She picked up the bank card from the table and held it directly in front of Chad's face. Her cool voice rang out clearly in the noisy cafeteria. You said he spent my money. Fine. Take this card. The PIN is 888888. The money inside is enough to buy your family's worthless companies. The entire cafeteria instantly fell into a dead silence. Everyone's eyes focused on Lily's calm, beautiful face. What did she just say? The money in this card is enough to buy Chad's family's companies? Chad's family business was nothing to a top-tier dynasty like the Sterlings, but to ordinary people, that was tens of millions in assets. Everyone thought they had misheard. Chad froze too. He looked at the ordinary debit card for a full 3 seconds. Then, as if hearing the world's best joke, exploded into exaggerated laughter. Ha ha, I am dying. Lily Vance, have you gone crazy from poverty? Is your brain broken? He pointed at the card, laughing so hard he leaned back. This crappy card? By my family's company? Do you know what my company's market cap is? I'm afraid saying it would scare you to death. His lackeys chimed in. Yeah, if you're gonna bluff, at least make it believable. Goddess, don't let this poor kid make you stupid. Dump him already. Facing the mockery and doubt of the crowd, Lily's expression didn't change a bit. She just watched Chad quietly, like she was watching a clown jumping around. "You don't believe me?" she asked faintly. "I'll believe you my ass." Chad sneered. "If you have the ability, prove it right now." "Okay." Lily nodded. Then, slowly, she raised her hand, her gaze landing on the watch on Chad's wrist, the one he was so proud of. It was a Patek Philippe Celestial, worth nearly $1 million. Chad's father had pulled countless strings to get it, and it was his biggest asset for showing off at school. That watch is a Patek Philippe Celestial, model 6102P, platinum case, limited to 50 pieces worldwide, correct? Lily spoke unhurriedly. Chad paused, then puffed out his chest proudly. "At least you have some knowledge." "That's right. My dad spent a fortune to get this for me. Poor people like you will never touch one in your life." However, Lily's next words froze the smile on his face. "A pity," Lily said with a hint of regret. "It's a fake." "What? What?" Chad's voice spiked, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "Bullshit. How could this be fake? The real 6102P has the Geneva seal engraved on the movement bridge. Yours, to save trouble, has it engraved on the rotor." Lily paused, her eyes moving to the watch face. "Also, the rotation cycle of the sky chart is based on a sidereal day, which is about 4 minutes shorter than a mean solar day. But yours, I observed it just now, its rotation speed is no different from a regular calendar watch." With every sentence she spoke, Chad's face turned paler, because the details Lily mentioned were extremely professional, not something an ordinary student could know. The most important point, Lily's gaze landed on Chad's bloodless face with a trace of pity. This specific model variation was rejected by me during the blueprint stage 3 years ago, because I thought the design was too ugly, so it was never produced. Any version circulating on the market is 100% fake. Boom! Lily's words exploded in everyone's hearts like a heavy bomb. She rejected it? What did that mean? Chad was completely dumbfounded. He looked at Lily, his lips trembling, unable to say a single word. As for Lily, looking like she had just done something insignificant, she turned to the shocked Chase. "Let's go. The food here is kind of gross." With that, she took Chase's hand and, under the stunned gazes of everyone, turned and walked out of the cafeteria, leaving Chad alone, standing in place, his face alternating between green and white, wishing he could find a hole to crawl into. Today he had experienced complete and utter social death. Walking out of the cafeteria, Chase felt his legs were still jelly. Lily's words kept echoing in his mind. Rejected by me. A Patek Philippe design. Rejected by her? Does her family own Patek Philippe? The thought was absurd and terrifying, yet seemed to be the only explanation. "Lily," Chase started to ask something, but Lily made a should gesture. "Don't ask yet," she said, pulling him quickly toward the school gate. "I'm taking you somewhere." Chase had to swallow his stomach full of questions and let her drag him along. As soon as they reached the school gate, a synchronized, low-engine roar approached from the distance. Everyone's eyes were drawn to it. 5 black Rolls-Royce Phantoms formed a solemn convoy, slowly pulling up to the entrance of NYU with an oppressive aura. Each car was polished to a mirror finish, gleaming with expensive light under the sun. The doors opened in unison. 10 bodyguards in black suits and sunglasses poured out of the 4 escort vehicles, quickly forming 2 rows on either side of the middle car, establishing a perimeter. This spectacle was more exaggerated than a movie scene. The students and passers-by at the gate were dumbstruck, whipping out their phones to take pictures. "Holy crap, what's the situation? Which VIP is visiting our school? 5 Rolls-Royce Phantoms. That's worth millions right there. Film it, film it. This is going on Instagram." Under everyone's shocked gazes, the rear door of the middle Rolls-Royce was respectfully opened by a bodyguard. An elderly man wearing a British tailcoat, white gloves, and with graying hair stepped out. Though aged, his back was straight, and every movement exuded an elegance and nobility carved into his bones. His gaze swept over the crowd at the gate and finally landed precisely on Lily. Then, under the disbelief of everyone watching, this extraordinary old man walked quickly to Lily and bowed deeply. His voice, aged and respectful, was amplified by a microphone, clearly echoing across the school in trance. "Miss, you have been away from home for 327 days. The master misses you very much. Please, come home." Boom! The entire world seemed to freeze in that moment. Everyone's jaws dropped, eyes popping out. "Miss, away from home? Master." These words, usually found only in dramas, were happening right before their eyes. And at the center of the event, the poor campus beauty, Lily Vance, simply looked calmly at the old butler and spoke coolly. "Winston," I said, "do not disturb my life until I allow it." "I'm very sorry, miss." The butler, named Winston, straightened up, his tone full of apology. "But today, you access the family's emergency reserve fund. According to clan rules, I must come personally to confirm your safety." Speaking, he turned his gaze to Chase, who was completely petrified, his brain rebooting. Winston's eyes narrowed slightly, then returned to a respectful look. He bowed slightly to Chase as well. "Presumably, this is Mr. Chase Sterling. The miss has caused you trouble." Chase felt like he was in an incredibly absurd dream. The Rolls-Royce fleet, the old butler, the bowing, the miss. Every element was violently assaulting his fragile nerves. He looked at Lily in front of him, the girl who ate street food with him, wore thrift store clothes, and got happy over a $15 brisket bowl, and she felt incredibly like a stranger. Winston, Lily's brow furrowed slightly, clearly displeased that her life was being interrupted. "This isn't the place to talk." "Yes, miss." Winston immediately understood and made a respectful please gesture. "The car is ready." Lily said nothing more, pulling the still-dazed Chase toward the middle Rolls-Royce. The bodyguards immediately opened the door for them. Chase sat inside like a puppet. The door closed, cutting off all the noise and prying eyes from outside. The interior space was unimaginably large, decorated to the height of luxury. Underfoot was soft, pure wool carpet. The seats were top-grade leather, and there was a minibar stocked with expensive liquor. The interior of this car was even more exaggerated than the Bugatti Veyron Chase had left gathering dust in his own garage. "Miss, where are we going?" Winston asked via the intercom. "To the Summit Club in Hudson Yards," Lily ordered faintly. Hearing that name, Chase's heart spasmed violently again. The Summit Club. That was his grandfather Silas Sterling's private club, closed to the public, used only to host the highest-tier VIPs. She was going to his family's turf. The convoy started smoothly, heading toward Manhattan. Inside the cabin, silence fell. Chase felt the air congealing. He looked at the girl beside him, whose aura was now fully unleashed. Mustering his courage, he finally asked the question he had been holding back. "Who exactly are you?" Lily turned to look at his face, written over with shock and confusion. A hint of apology flashed in her clear eyes. "I'm sorry, Chase. I lied to you." She paused and spoke softly. "My last name is Vance. Lily Vance. My father is Arthur Vance." Arthur Vance. Chase frantically searched his memory for the name. He knew the global elite circles like the back of his hand. There were a few wealthy Vance families, but absolutely none named Arthur Vance who could command such a terrifying entourage. "You might not have heard his name," Lily said calmly, "because you won't see him on any Forbes list. He is a core member of the Rothschild Family Alliance and one of the 33 Supreme Council members of the Freemasons. I am his only daughter." Boom! It felt like a nuclear bomb detonated in Chase's brain. Rothschild, Freemasons. For ordinary people, these names existed only in legends and conspiracy theories. But for an heir of Chase's level, he knew very well that behind these names lay a terrifying power hidden beneath the surface, one capable of manipulating the global economy and even influencing national geopolitics. Sterling Global was a behemoth in his eyes, but in front of the old money dynasties, it might not even count as a strong ant. What had he been doing for the past 6 months? He actually took the ultimate test his grandfather gave him to test a hidden princess of the world. He used a $50,000 surgery fee to test a woman whose family assets were likely measured in the trillions. And he had been smug because she was willing to eat $15 brisket with him. In this moment, Chase felt like the biggest idiot in the world. The test he had carefully designed and taken pride in was, from beginning to end, a massive, utter joke. Lily watched his lost, existential crisis expression, a look of sympathy in her eyes. She reached out and gently held his cold hand. Then, in a tone that was half joking yet touched with seriousness, she whispered, "So, Mr. Sterling, is that $50,000 for your mother's surgery? Enough. If not, I have more. Should I add a few zeros for you?" Lily's words were like a gentle knife, precisely slicing open Chase's last shred of pride. His face turned red instantly, burning from his cheeks to the tips of his ears. Embarrassment, shame, the urge to dig a hole and die. All emotions churned wildly in his heart like spilled spices. You knew all along." He held it in for a long time before squeezing the sentence out through his teeth. "Knew what?" Lily asked knowingly, the smile in her eyes like crushed starlight. "That you're the crown prince of Sterling Global?" or that your mother is perfectly healthy and vacationing in Hawaii. Chase. He felt like he was being publicly executed. Since when? He asked, practically grinding his teeth. Lily tilted her head, thinking seriously. Probably. The second day, you started pursuing me. Day 2. Chase's eyes nearly popped out. Yeah. Lily nodded matter-of-factly. Did you really think I'd just agree to date a random guy? The night you confessed to me, Winston had already investigated your family background back 18 generations, including that so-called ultimate test from your grandpa Silas. Chase felt his heart being pierced with 1,000 holes. Turns out, from the very beginning, he was exposed naked under someone else's eyelids. His brilliant acting was, in her eyes, just a childish game of house. Then why did you play along? Chase's voice held a trace of unbelievable defeat. Because. Lily suddenly leaned in, her warm breath gently hitting his ear. I thought, the way you earnestly and clumsily played a poor boy was actually kind of cute. Also, she pulled back slightly, her clear eyes looking at him with immense seriousness. I wanted to try it too. Try what it felt like to throw away those annoying identities and wealth, and just fall in love as an ordinary girl. Turns out, she smiled, her eyes curving like the most beautiful crescent moons in the night sky. It felt pretty good. Looking at her sincere smile, the embarrassment and shame in Chase's heart unknowingly dissipated a great deal. Yeah, the two of them seemed worlds apart, but they were actually the same kind of people. Both birds trapped in golden cages, both longing for a pure affection unbound by money and status. He used a clumsy method to test her. Sincere smile, the embarrassment and shame in Chase's heart unknowingly dissipated a great deal. Yeah, the two of them seemed worlds apart, but they were actually the same kind of people. Both birds trapped in golden cages, both longing for a pure affection unbound by money and status. He used a clumsy method to test her, and she used an accepting and gentle method to accompany him through the test. From start to finish, the only one who lost was him. Realizing this, Chase let out a long breath, his whole body relaxing. He looked at the girl in front of him and suddenly smiled too, a smile somewhat helpless, but relieved. So, my 6 months of suffering were all for nothing. How was it for nothing? Lily squeezed his hand, speaking earnestly. You learned how to take the subway, learned how to cook, and learned to work hard for a $50 attendance bonus. Aren't those valuable experiences? Chase looked at her, opened his mouth to argue, but found he couldn't say a word. He could only nod with a bitter smile. Fina, you win. He looked at the rapidly retreating scenery outside the window, feeling like everything in the past 6 months had been a bizarre dream. Now, the dream was over. He and she could finally take off all their masks and face each other with their truest identities. Top floor of the Summit Club, inside a private suite closed to the public. Chase and Lily sat side by side. Standing respectfully before them was the old butler, Winston. Miss, regarding your use of the emergency reserve fund, and this matter with Mr. Sterling, I have truthfully reported it to the master. Winston's tone remained meticulous. What did he say? Lily picked up a glass of lemon water and took a sip. The master said. A rare, strange expression appeared on Winston's face. He told you to have fun. Spurt. Chase nearly sprayed out the water he had just sipped. Have fun. The legendary Global Titan's reaction to his daughter and future son-in-law's role-play game was just that. That was too down to earth, wasn't it? What else did he say? Lily didn't seem surprised by the answer. The master also said that Mr. Silas Sterling did plenty of similar stupid things when he was young. He wants to see if the Sterling grandson has become more capable than his grandfather, or even stupider. Winston relayed truthfully. Chase's face started burning again. He felt like he hadn't just died of embarrassment in front of his girlfriend, but also in front of his future father-in-law, and even his grandfather's old acquaintance. All right, I got it. Lily waved her hand. Winston, you can leave. Unless I order it. Don't appear at the school again. Yes, miss. Winston bowed again, then silently retreated from the room. The suite was left with just the two of them. Now it's your turn. Lily turned to Chase, a teasing look in her eyes. My turn for what? Call your grandfather. Lily said matter-of-factly. Tell him the results of his ultimate test are in. Chase looked at her, smiled bitterly, and took out his phone to dial the familiar number. The call was picked up almost instantly. You brat. How did it go? Do you have the results of your ultimate test? Did the girl pass? Chase glanced at Lily, who was stifling a laugh beside him. He took a deep breath and spoke in a tone of utter resignation. Grandpa, the test. I guess she passed. Guess? What do you mean, guess? I mean, not only did she not mind that I was poor, she gave me $50,000 for the surgery. Ha ha. Good, good. Silas laughed heartily on the other end. I knew my Sterling grandson had good taste. This granddaughter-in-law is approved. Quick, were you bringing her home for me to see? But Chase's tone was full of hesitation. But what? But she seems a little bit richer than our family. Afraid of money? We Sterlings care about character, not money, Silas declared proudly. Besides, no matter how rich someone is, can they be richer than the Sterlings? Chase fell silent. He looked at Lily, then, in an extremely complicated tone, whispered, Grandpa, have you ever heard of the Rothschilds? On the other end of the line, Silas Sterling's hearty laughter came to an abrupt halt. It took a full 30 seconds before the sound of him sucking in a cold breath came through the phone. You kid. You kidnapped a princess of the Rothschild Alliance. The story ends with a meeting that shook the world's elite circles. Sterling Global's patriarch, Silas Sterling, and a legendary financial emperor, Arthur Vance, met on a private island closed to the public. No one knows what they discussed. They only know that from then on, Sterling Global and that mysterious multinational conglomerate began an unprecedented depth of cooperation. As for the two protagonists of the story, Chase and Lily, they held hands and returned to NYU, continuing their ordinary campus life. Only, occasionally when no one was around, Lily would lean into Chase's ear, a smile in her voice, and ask softly, Hey, in turn, working overtime tonight? Working. For you. I'll work all the overtime. Under the sunlight, two equally dazzling young people looked at each other and smiled. Their story had nothing to do with money, nothing to do with tests. It was just about a divine romance that started with a lie, but ended with a true heart. Story complete.